Oh, her mic's off.
Sarah Spear?
Here.
John Ward?
Here.
Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting of the Brainerd School Board is being conducted in accordance with Minnesota Statutes 13D.02. This meeting is being recorded. Access to the recording is available on the school district's YouTube channel. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Ward.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include under number 10, committee report, just a report from the students serving on the board committees.
So under number 11 is our current agenda and report on the students participating in school board committees. Is that right?
That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any-
Sarah.
Any further discussion? We'll need a roll call vote.
Stephanie Etterman?
Yes.
Randy Heidman?
Yes.
Sarah Spear?
Yes.
John Ward?
Yes.
Jill Brecken?
Yes.
All in favor?
Now I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Oh, that's all I think we needed.
Is that all we need?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, we have some recognitions to report. Peter, if you want to start with the first one.
As you can tell by the signs around and so forth, we are celebrating Minnesota School Board Appreciation Month. And I have a short statement to read. In honor of the School Board Appreciation Month, excuse me, we would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt thanks for your dedication and service to your school, to our school district. Your leadership, commitment, and hard work make a lasting impact on the lives of our students, staff, and community. Your decisions help shape the future of education, and we are truly grateful for the time, energy, and care you invest in supporting our schools. Thank you for your continued advocacy, guidance, and unwavering support. We appreciate everything you do.
Okay, we'll continue on. Congratulations to Brainerd High School teacher Nicole Harmer for being selected as the 2025 Innovative Teacher of the Year. Congratulations to the Warrior Dance Team for earning their Section 4 AAA championship in kick and section runner-up in jazz. Congratulations to the Warrior Boys Nordic Ski Team for winning the Central Lakes Conference Championship and the Section 8A Team Championship. Congratulations to Warrior Nordic skiers Tristan Cubista and Joe Newman for winning the Section 8A Relay Championship. Congratulations to Nordic coach Ethan Yuso for being selected as the Section A Assistant Coach of the Year. Congratulations to Warrior Nordic skier Annalise Baird for winning the Section 8A Individual Championship. Congratulations to Piper Grillo for being a Warrior Alpine Ski State qualifier. Congratulations to Warrior wrestler Ari Picard for winning the Section 7 and 8 championship at 124 pounds. Ari is the first girls wrestling section champion in school history. She went 4-0 this weekend. Now we'll move on to public input. A member of the public can address the board during this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Complaints or allegations against students or employees may not be discussed due to data privacy. Complaints or allegations must be submitted in writing to Superintendent Grant. The Board of Education superintendent will not converse with guests to address the topics discussed at this time. So first, we would like to welcome Doug Kern to come and give your public comment.
Yep. All I got to say is that singing and the band playing, all you saw was talent. That's all you saw was talent. And one of the things that I'm proud of is that you don't have to look for race, color, or creed. You just see talent. The thing that I missed a few school board meetings, but the previous chair made a comment that there is no DEI being pushed in the school district. You know, when I look at, there's different things that I look at on the agenda. There would be the equity task force. If there was no DEI, we wouldn't need a task force. And so that's one of the issues that I have is that that's on the agenda. The other thing is on this agenda that I see here, we have the approval of the third and final reading of MSBA Policy 906, Community Notification of Predatory Offenders. A year and a half ago, we went through the whole book thing where you have pornographic books in the schools. And according to the state statutes, you know, providing pornographic material to minors is a felony. And I still don't understand why that wasn't addressed and why they weren't removed. And the content that's in those books is more pornographic than anything I've ever read, some of them books. And I still don't understand why the adults in the room didn't see that they should have been pulled. So people ask, I had different people ask me, why are parents pulling their kids from the schools? I want to see the school district succeed. I mean, this school district is huge and it needs to succeed with everything that we have. Part of it is, you know, the adults in the room need to step up and readdress these books in the schools. Because it wasn't just the few that we read a year and a half ago, it's bigger than that. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, now we would like to call Art Lordbach to give your comments.
Good evening. At the last October meeting, there was a member from the community expressed her opinion that someone who believes in school choice should not serve on the board. My opinion is exactly opposite. I think all of you should believe in school choice. Another lady that night talked about critical thinking on facts. Let's do a little critical thinking. Talk about some premises first. Parents have the responsibility for educating their children. Parents will choose the best way to fulfill that responsibility. School board members have the task for making the educational system the best it can be. And I have to believe that's why you're on the school board, because you think you can make a difference and make the school board, this school district the best it can be. If the educational system is excellent, then first parents will choose to keep their children in the local school. Second, parents that have chosen to leave the local school will bring their children back. Third, parents from other districts will bring their children from failing schools to get an excellent education for their children if given back the right to choose. So if you are successful in what I think you believe, you'll have people beating down your doors to get back in this district, okay? Now, if you don't believe in school choice, then you must believe that the government has the authority and power and right to force parents to send their children to government-controlled schools, most likely failing schools, to indoctrinate them in whatever idea the government wants the children to believe to be true. For the government's benefit, forcing parents to send their children to a government-controlled school is a practice in communist-type governments. We can go to China, Russia, Venezuela, North Korea. They control the kids because they know the education system is how you control a population in a country to get them to do what you as a government wants them to do. Now, this is just not my opinion. I assume you probably know who Condoleezza Rice was. So are you for school choice or not? We already have a choice system education. If you are of means, you will move to a district where the schools are good and houses are expensive. If you're really wealthy, you will send your kids to private schools. So who is stuck in failing neighborhood schools? Poor kids, a lot of them minority kids. So how can you say you're for civil rights? How can you say you're for the poor when you're condemning those children to be in failing schools? Robin DiAngelo wrote this book, Nice Racism. She also wrote the book, White Fragility. It has to do with the fact that she believes, well, she says, how progressive white people perpetuate racial harm. Her premise is that every white person is a racist, and you cannot be a racist, okay? That's what she believes. And she wrote, consider, for example, the ways in which schools are funded through the property tax base of the surrounding community.
Mr. Lordbach, your
Yeah.
time is up,
Oh, okay.
but thank
We'll be
you.
back. But
Thank you.
think about it. Your assignment, read this for next time. Indoctrinate our children to death.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, but I have to leave for medical reasons. So you have a good evening. I'll watch the rest on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to the approval of the minutes. We'll start with approving, or having a motion to approve the organizational school board meeting from January 13th, 2005.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We have a roll call vote. Kelly?
Randy Heidman,
Yeah.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Jill Brecken,
Yes.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
all in favor?
Now I would entertain a motion to approve the regular school board meeting minutes from January 13th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Jill Brecken,
Yes.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
all in favor?
All right, now moving to number 8 on the agenda, the consent calendar. Is there anything of significance we need to report on the consent calendar? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Sharon,
Yes.
have we, the House proposal is a done deal, correct?
Pardon?
The House proposal, the trade,
Yep.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that that's,
We had a minimum bid of 107,
okay,
and they came in at 100.
okay, good.
Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Ward, Director Ward.
so I just want to point out that the donations we received this month are over $10,500. That's really significant. And there are also many in-kind clothes and food and things like that to help the students of our school district. So we so much appreciate the generosity of our community.
Thank you, Director Ward. Any other further discussion? Okay, then I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Jill Brecken,
Yes.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes,
all in favor?
All right, now we move on to a presentation from the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. I would like to welcome the representatives from the American Indian Indian Parent Advisory Council, known as APAC. To give you a little bit of background, APAC serve in an advisory role to districts and help to ensure that American Indian students are receiving culturally relevant and equitable educational opportunities. APACs are critical to the achievement and success of American Indian students statewide, and their presence, input, and knowledge is key to strengthening district and parent partnerships. Prior to March 1st of each year, the APAC committees meet annually to discuss whether or not they concur with the educational offerings that have been extended by the district to the American Indian students. If the vote is one of non-concurrence, the APAC provides written recommendations for improvement each year to the school board, and the board is required to respond in writing to each recommendation within 60 days. We will hear from the members of the APAC committee at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Try to get you to sit in it.
Hitai Tuashte, Ishtata Chinchala Wina Machiapie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kayla Schubert.
Hello, my name is Charles Blacklance, and I'm a parent of 3 children in the school district.
Buju, Nijugabu Ikwe Nindugu Ojibwemong, Govinda Budro, Nindijana Kajaganashimong. I'm a parent and volunteer. There's another microphone? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, you don't have to move it. This one right here, I'll pick it up. You're fine.
Oh, okay, we don't have to move this, I guess. Move this right here? All
Yep,
right, I'll
you can
move
just
this.
talk normal, it'll be fine.
Talk normal.
Bonjour, Nijigabo, Ekwe, Indigenous Kaz, Makwandure, Gawaba, Bikanakang, and Dunjaba, Lian, Indigenous Kaz, Jaganash, Shawin. I am a grandfathered APAC member, concerned citizen of our community, and volunteer. Miigwech.
Ambashi Ikwe Indigenous Kaz, Mikazito Dem. My name is Mary, and I'm a community member and volunteer.
Good afternoon, or good evening. Again, my name is Charles Blacklance, and I'm pleased to be a member of the APAC committee. And I'll start off our presentation to you all. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Superintendent Grant, and all of you school board members for giving us the opportunity. We understand that when we start off in this way of offering first the ASEMA, that elevates this conversation, and that what we ask for is, in this good way, is to be heard and in partnership support positive growth in the district. This is the way that we have begun every year for the past 7 years. In that time, this request has extended beyond this boardroom, calling in families to join this work, families that have enrolled their children because of this positive dialogue, volunteers, and state leaders that have provided immense support to the district and the Indigenous students. We have also started with the things that we are thankful for in the district. The APAC acknowledges our district for their achievements and accomplishments in the building of relationships, community partnerships, and growth. This year, we would like to share these 7 items. Miigwech to all the school leaders for fostering space for our Indigenous education program. A special thank you to Riverside and the Brainerd Learning Center for going above and beyond in supporting Indigenous education for all students. When we uplift Native students, we uplift all students. Miigwech, we appreciate the inclusion of American Indian family representation on the hiring committees for the Indigenous liaison and coordinator. Miigwech, we have noticed the dedication in school board representation in our APAC meetings. We understand that this is voluntary and how it can be time-consuming. We thank the board members who volunteer to share their space, or share our space, and learn with us. Miigwech to Directors Sarah Spear and Michelle Brecken for your years on our committee, and to the new representative, Director Heidman. Miigwech, we are thankful for our student liaison, Max, and for the district supporting student representatives on committees. Miigwech for hiring of the new Indigenous education liaison, Chastity and Ishinabe. Miigwech for supporting the implementation of Dreamcatcher in our school district and for engaging our Indigenous education staff and school leadership in training. A special acknowledgement to Joel, Heather, Kayla, Shelley, Tammy, Shayla, and Chastity. Miigwech to our new Indigenous Education Direct Supervisors, Andrea Rusk and Jessica Hopajoki, as well as Jenny Barnhart, the BLC clerical staff, for your unwavering support of Indigenous education programming and staff, Shayla and Chastity. Your dedication is deeply appreciated.
Thanks again for the opportunity to speak today. I'm speaking as a parent who specifically chose to come to this district because of the Indian Ed program here. So to continue from Charles, we intentionally try to walk into this room keeping our feet well grounded in our responsibilities walking this earth. These responsibilities include the teachings of the grandfathers: honesty, love, courage, truth, wisdom, humility, and respect. When we come, we have heard that some view this as contentious or take our honesty and truth as individual criticism. We always try to walk with the courage and humility to respect and love each other in this process. We are only sitting opposite of you because of the way that the system is designed, not because of it being oppositional in our hearts and minds. The APAC exists out of leadership of those who came before us to establish the statutory requirements of having collaboration and advisement from the caregivers of Indigenous students in this district. The critical nature of our relationship is reciprocal. Each year, the APAC community is asked to vote on whether the district is following all the statutory requirements and meeting the needs of Indigenous students. Through our responsibilities to try to live by the 7 teachings, we are compelled to respond with honesty and truth in this vote. We have provided the rubric and the recent 2023 updates to the state statutes that we are using to evaluate the district. The district does not have to wait for our official vote to determine where the district lies in this work. This is and always has been the district's responsibility to follow state statutes. We appreciate that the district leadership had completed the rubric in years past. We have not been informed that the district has continued to evaluate their progress independently. We would appreciate being in positive collaboration towards generating the type of education that nourishes bright futures for all children. We know that there are individual efforts and individual apathy. This is fundamentally about system change that is generated from the roots and supported from the very top leaves of leadership. Beyond individuals, how is this work being held up for those who want to support children, and how is it being corrected with those that perpetuate and advance the system knowingly or unknowingly? We have voted non-concurrence unanimously as a committee and have a series of recommendations that we see as interrelated, just like the living pieces that make up a healthy forest. The APAC has voted on 4 recommendations. Of many, these are recommendations that have been deemed important to the APAC and resolvable over the next year. However, it should always be acknowledged that there are many statutes and sustainability practices that the district could be understanding and engaging on their own. This year, we are delving deeper into each of the 4 recommendations. Our goal is to provide the new school board members with essential background knowledge.
Number 1, State Statute 124D.25, Subdivision 9, clearly states, in hiring for all positions in these programs, referring to Indigenous education and specifically American Indian language and cultural education teachers, school districts and participating schools shall give preference to and make affirmative efforts to seek, recruit, and employ persons who share the culture of the American Indian children who are enrolled in the program. The district or participating school must provide procedures for the involvement of the parent advisory committees in the recruitment, screening, and selection of applicants. This statute has been in place since 1977. Historically, our committee has had to advocate to ensure this legal requirement is upheld, as demonstrated in past hiring decisions regarding Indigenous liaison and coordinator positions. Last year, new statutory requirements introduced the need for our district to offer an Ojibwe language and culture course. However, Indigenous representatives from our committee and program were not included in the hiring process for this position. Despite our efforts to engage in discussions when we sought clarification on the district's approach to meeting state statute, we encouraged challenges in receiving clear and accurate information. Despite meetings with the former superintendent and the individual now referred to as the director of schools, we were unable to reach a resolution that supports the required engagement of the APAC committee. We appreciate the district's efforts in implementing this course in alignment with state statute. However, we have concerns about the consistency of how statutory requirements are applied. Additionally, there are questions about whether the hiring process upheld fair and inclusive practices, as the position was posted internally with a job description that appeared to align closely with a specific candidate. The statute was not upheld when the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, APAC, was not included in the hiring process for the American Indian language and culture teacher. This was more than a missed procedural step. It was a missed opportunity to honor both the legal and ethical commitment to Indigenous students and families that this statute is meant to support.
Number 2, as we stated, each year our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, APAC, votes on whether the district is compliant with state statute and effectively serving Indigenous students. To make an informed decision, we submit a data request to assess key student outcomes. Most years we have struggled to get access to data required for an informed vote. We established a better process with previous leadership. However, recent changes to the data request policy implemented without our knowledge continued to create barriers that prevented us from assessing, once again, critical information in time for this year's vote. It is important to highlight guidance from the Minnesota Department of Education, MDE, which states, for the APAC to make informed decisions, the district must afford the committee the information and data needed to make sound recommendations. This information includes, but is not limited to, testing data, attendance data, graduation rates, and student count information. Although we were eventually able to analyze some of the requested data through additional voluntary efforts outside of our regular meeting times, we identified significant discrepancies that raised concerns about data accuracy and representation. The first one, special education services. In initial data provided stated that 66 out of 201 Indigenous students received special education services. However, upon further review, we found the actual number to be 99 out of 293, meaning nearly 34% of the Indigenous students received special education services. This discrepancy resulted in 92 additional students not being accounted for. Disciplinary data, the district reported only 4 total disciplinary actions for Indigenous students during the entire 2023-2024 school year. However, discussions with our parent committee identified a greater number of known disciplinary actions than was officially reported. Additionally, the data provided showed that all 4 reported disciplinary actions were for female students only. Yet we have direct knowledge of at least 1 recorded disciplinary response involving a federally and state-identified Indigenous student who is male. This single omission alone calls into question the accuracy and completeness of the disciplinary data. Fast Bridge data. We were informed that Fast Bridge assessments do not currently recognize demographic information, limiting our ability to analyze outcomes for Indigenous students. School climate and comfortability data, we were guided to utilize the Minnesota report card, but we were unable to desegregate and view due to small cell size, meaning we had no measurable insight on how Indigenous students feel about their school experience. Attendance data, the district reported that last year 39 out of 222 Indigenous students had 5 or more absences. However, given the inaccuracies found in other data points, there is a lack of confidence in the reliability of this information. Out of the 6 key data points we requested, 2 were found to be inaccurate: the special education and disciplinary data. 1 is not currently being tracked, and another is unable to be assessed by our committee: the Fast Bridge demographics and the school climate comfortability. And 1 is difficult to verify due to existing inaccuracies. That was the attendance data. Given these findings, we urge the district to evaluate and improve data accuracy, transparency, and procedures to allow for timely access so that APAC can fulfill its role in making informed decisions. Strengthening this process will foster trust, accountability, and ultimately better outcomes for all students in the district.
Our third recommendation is about statute 120A.42, and it states, on Indigenous Peoples' Day, at least 1 hour of the school program must be devoted to the observance of the day. As part of its observance, a district may provide professional development to teachers and staff or instruction to students. This means that the district had 2 primary options for meeting the requirement. 1, provide at least 1 hour of professional development for teachers and staff on the topics outlined in the statute, or 2, ensuring every student receives at least 1 hour of instruction on these topics on, which was October 14th, 2024, the last Indigenous Peoples' Day. To support this effort, an Indigenous Peoples' Day committee was formed, including Shayla, Melissa, Robin, and APAC Representative Michelle. This committee first convened on September 13th, 2024, giving them less than a month to gather resources for the entire district, and even less time for teachers to prepare meaningful instruction. Well, the statute was enacted on February 2023, providing an opportunity for proactive planning. The limited preparation time this year posed a significant challenge. Despite these constraints, there were notable successes, such as the 6th grade at Forest View Middle School, which has already integrated a responsive curriculum that aligns with the statutory requirements. However, feedback from educators indicated that many feel unprepared to facilitate conversations about Indigenous Peoples' Day due to the lack of background knowledge, resources, and professional development. Ultimately, the district did not meet the statutory requirement of 1 hour of instruction per student this year, not due to the lack of effort by teachers, but because they were not provided with the necessary time, resources, or training to implement the content effectively. Since the district opted at this time to have teachers deliver the instruction rather than offering professional development, our recommendation is to strengthen the support for both the Indigenous Peoples' Day Committee and our teachers, providing educators with the tools, training, and resources they will need to help ensure successful implementation moving forward. The fourth recommendation, for the past 7 years, the responsibility of educating district leadership on Minnesota state statutes has largely fallen on the APAC. As volunteers, parents, guardians, grandparents, and Indigenous community members, we take this work not because it's our job, but because we deeply care about the children and the future generations. Despite our ongoing efforts, leadership transitions continuously set us back, forcing us to restart this educational effort time and time again. To create lasting progress, we strongly recommend implementing sustainable leadership training practices. New and existing leadership should be equipped with the knowledge of past efforts and remain up to date on changing statutes, ensuring continuity in the compliance and commitment. As dedicated volunteers, we willingly give of our time, but it is unsustainable to repeatedly re-educate those entrusted with the responsibility of upholding the statutes and serve our students equitably. A proactive and systemic approach to leadership training would not only be supported Indigenous students, but also strengthening the entire district's ability to foster an inclusive and effective educational environment. Last year, a statement was made by one of our school board members that we do not give them credit for what they have done. We have always led for the past 7 years, acknowledging the good work of the district has done. The question was then posed, why? If you will continue to give an F, right? Why to continue if we give an F? But we repeat with this. Voting in compliance when the district is not following state statutes and not doing the best by our Indigenous students is like continuing to water a plant with polluted water because that's what's available. You might be following a routine, but the plant never truly thrives. It just barely survives under the conditions that stunts its growth. True change requires not just going through the motions, but addressing the root issue, replacing the polluted water with what the plant actually needs to flourish. Miigwech Bizendawie, thank you for listening.
Thank you to the APAC members for this very detailed and helpful feedback. As I mentioned before, the district and the school board have 60 days to respond in writing to each recommendation. So we'll be taking that under advisement. Okay, thank you.
We can collect it.
Okay. And do you want these back or do Yeah, I mean, unless you tell us what we should do with them. Could I do that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We can take it out for you. They said that they will want to do it themselves. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we now move on to new business, and we have a presentation from Marcy Lord and Mary Reedy.
Good evening, and I do want to, I know you just said her name, but introduce Mary Reedy. She's our lead auditor. She's been on our district for, gosh, how long? Yeah. And she'll lead the presentation, but I'll just chime in as needed. Please feel free to ask questions.
Definitely open dialogue as needed. So we issued the audited financial statements, all of the MD&A letters and stuff are in there. We like to just do the high-level presentation on the PowerPoint, a little bit easier, quicker sometimes too, better to understand. We do comparative year over year, a little bit easier to see where the district has been and where you're at. So we'll start with the PowerPoint here, page 2, required communication. So our primary responsibility as auditors is to provide an opinion on the fairness of the financial statements presented tonight. We do review internal accounting controls, right? We want to make sure that there's controls in place over revenues coming in, expenditures going out. So we test those. If there are any issues noted, we would definitely report back to the board on that. We can't test every transaction, obviously just too many going on. So we do some detail level transaction testing, and then we do some higher comparisons, right? Current year to budget, current year to prior year. If anything looks out of the ordinary, then we do more tests over that as well. We do a special test of your federal expenditures. You spent over $750,000, so we do detailed testing of those. We select programs based on standards, and this year we just tested one. We'll go over that in a little bit. Significant accounting policies, those are outlined in note 1, kind of gives you a brief overview of how the numbers and what they mean. And then no new accounting standards for this year. Within the bound document, remember there's going to be management judgments and accounting estimates. We try and get those numbers as accurate as we can, but some of those are still truly just estimates. So no disagreements with management here. A little bit delayed in the audit. We work hard with Marcy to get this turned around as fast as we can. Just received final trial balance in December, so we tried to get it moving as fast as we could once we got that done. So financial statements, when we come in to audit, we don't have to correct anything, and there's no uncorrected adjustments. So really the information you're getting on a monthly basis is accurate. You can make informed decisions on that information. So overall, the summary of the audit results, the financial statements, we issued an unmodified or clean opinion, so highest level of assurance that us as auditors can give. One material weakness, just the preparation of the financial statements. So we come in and we do actually draft those financial statements. Marcy does a detail level review. She just doesn't have time to check in all of those numbers back in. Uniform guidance, that is your single audit where we single out the federal awards here. We did test the Education Stabilization Fund this year, and there were no findings noted. Minnesota LEO compliance, we test about a 25-page checklist to make sure that the district is in compliance with all laws and regulations, and there were no findings noted there. So now we'll get into some numbers. Again, feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. So far left is going to be 2024, far right is going to be your 2020 information. You can see revenues coming in at about 96.7 million, expenditures at 93.7. So overall, your net change in fund balance was a positive 3 million. If you go down and you do your comparisons actual to budget, revenues came in over budget about 1.9 million. When you look in detail, that was mostly going to be your interest income, which can fluctuate greatly from year to year depending on the markets. Student activities, revenue came in higher than expected, and then medical assistance also fluctuated more this year as well. Total expenditures at 93.8, budgeted for 95.2, came in positive or under budget by about 1.4 million. When you look at that, there was quite a bit of projects that were not completed through long-term facility maintenance and capital funding there. So if you go up to that section where it says unassigned fund balance, non-spendable and restricted, you can see increased from prior year. A lot of that additional funding that came in was restricted, right? So really hard to spend that money with short notice. So Marcy will keep an eye on that. You obviously want to try and spend as much as that first as you can, and then you dip into your unassigned. You look at your unassigned, went up about 14.9 million. The district policy is to have 10%, which is a little low for a district your size. But right now, you're currently at 16%. So you really want to strive between the 15 to 20% range if you can in that unassigned fund balance.
Oh, and as you guys know, our current deficit is about 3 million. So there is a revision coming and that could change. But if we looked at what we're projected to go into deficit, we're going to be about right where what the money that went in for 23-24 is going to come right back out. So I don't want you to think that it's going to be building.
Mary, did you say that we have 16% fund balance right now?
Correct. So your unassigned fund balance compared to your expenditures, correct?
Okay, okay.
Again, that will fluctuate with your amount of expenditures and then your amount of unassigned as well.
Right,
Yep,
okay,
in any given year.
okay.
Madam Chair,
So the next page.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
Director Ward?
when, Mary, when you look at the percent of unassigned fund balance, do you take into account state mandates like unemployment insurance and school lunch and things like that, and relate it to the fund balance at all?
So this is just general fund. So your food service would be in Fund 2, so we wouldn't do that. And no, we only take into account the money that comes in that's restricted or assigned, that we exclude then, but we do include all expenditures.
Thank you.
So general fund unassigned fund balance per average daily membership. Now, as you will get into the presentation a little bit, but average daily memberships did decrease. Unassigned fund balance went up, so you're going to see that uptick this year for that, just with the increase and the decrease in the student count here. Then the next page is your percentage of expenditure, so you can see that it fluctuates year over year, 19-20 being the lowest, and then you built up a little bit, 23 into 24. So the next page is your food service fund. Here you can see revenues increased from prior year up to 4.8 million. Remember that fully funded, right, from 23 where students had to pay, 24 is fully funded through state and federal. So your increase is expected, increase in participation. And then that drives up your expenditures as well, up to 4.9 million there. So when you look at your budget to actual, revenues came in over budget about 266,000, expenditures over by about 448,000. So you budgeted for a loss of about 202 and you came in at 83 loss. So actually positive there. Your fund balance at about 1.2 million is pretty much where you need it to be. Not excessive in any means, and you can see the last 2 years you've decreased, but it hasn't been really significant. Food service is very restrictive on what you can spend the money on. A lot of times you have to get approval for outside expenditures, outside of wages and food costs.
They did open up some of the restrictions, like now we can buy tables, which we never were able to before, but it's still very restrictive.
The majority of our districts are finding ways to spend down that fund balances. Next page is your community service fund. Here with revenues about 4.2 million, expenditures at about 3.9 million. So your budget revenues came in over budget about 383,000. Expenditures came in under budget about 244,000. So here you budgeted for a loss of about 342,000, came in at a positive 285,000. So within community service, you have quite a few restricted fund balances in here, and if you look at all of those, they are all positive. So really operating the programs as you should. Just continue to monitor. You don't want to build up the fund balance too big. I know I was talking with Marcy, and some of that is you're increasing programming without increasing the cost because you just can't find the resources that you need right now. So there's a little bit of balance there, but overall, doing as it should, operating the way it should.
What is community service fund? What is it?
Our community ed programs. So school readiness, early childhood, family education, anything you see in the booklet that you get, the community ed guide, all of that is in community ed.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So I'm confused. Will you say that again? You said that our fund balance, we need to be more careful about our fund balance because what are we doing right now? We're
increasing it, and there's rules about, same with
Oh.
food service, you can't have too much. We don't want to be negative, but we can't have too much either.
And how do you spend it down? By just offering more programs?
Buying one-time purchases, because if we add staff that's permanent and we whittle it down, then we're gonna have to cut that staff, right? So we have to get creative with some one-time purchases if possible.
So we get,
It's
so we get,
restrictive for community service.
Right.
Okay.
so we don't get cut back the following year.
Right.
Correct.
I wish my budget worked like that.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
And like Mary said, so it has that line that says restricted fund balance, and that's several categories. So,
Right.
for example, early childhood family ed is doing well. School readiness, we are not making money on. So that one is a 0 right now. In fact, if it was allowed to go negative, it would be negative.
By how much?
I believe this year it would have been around 10,000. So it was the first year that we have went into the negative.
That's not bad, though. 10,000 out of a, what, $120 million budget? Yeah. That's not bad.
No. So, you're doing what you need to do, right? You're offering the programs that you need to, you're funding them. And then, if you got the probably resources that you needed at the time, you wouldn't be where you're at, but it's nothing really to be concerned over. Just continue to monitor it. You're in a lot better spot than some districts with their programming being negative and trying to find a way to get out of the hole. So the next slide, that top is your debt service fund. Within there is your OPEB fund as well, which was paid off in '24. Revenues at about 16 million, expenditures at 16, so pretty much break even. You do have to levy 105% of those principal and interest payments. The state will then come in and look at your fund balance, and if you have too much, they will adjust as needed. So you are collecting what you need to in taxes to pay your principal and interest payments. Capital Projects Fund, been going on for a while here. So it's good to start to see that wind down, right? About a $4 million balance left there. And as those projects get wrapped up and additional items get completed, you'll see that eventually get down to 0.
This is 181
Yep.
blueprint?
Yep.
Because I thought all that money was gone spent.
We're getting there. We're getting close.
That was a lot of money to spend.
Yeah. It was a almost $235 million project, so we're very close.
I think we'll both be glad when it's done.
Yes.
A lot of work.
Jeff will be happy too.
Perfect. So here's the revenues overall for the district. Obviously, just pointing out that the state is your biggest piece of funding there. Last year was at 62%. Again, revenues increased in your state a lot due to your food service fund, and then increase overall in your funding. Federal went down. You were at 10% last year, at 7% this year. Again, you're going to see that come down again for 25 because your ESF money is going away. All of that COVID money is being spent down. So the next page, we just like to show your bar charts, right? So you can see year over year where you've been. So the state aid, you can see increase. We talked about that, the increase in funding, and then your food service there, and then federal gradually going back down.
And just want to add,
Madam,
go ahead, Jen.
I'm sorry I didn't get in quick enough, but going back to sources of revenue, give us an example, will you, of other local? What, that's, what is that? 6% of our revenue is other local?
Yep, so.
What is that?
Interest, donations, grants, student activities, which is fundraising, medical assistance revenue. It's kind of a whole bunch of hodgepodge stuff.
Okay, thank you.
And the one thing I was going to add on this slide was the state, that line did go up, but I want to emphasize that a lot of that was restricted money.
So here's the breakdown of expenditures. Instructional, meaning expenditures back in the classroom at 52%, up from 45% last year. But again, kind of skewed with your sites and buildings, right, with all of your capital projects going on. Last year was 22%, this year is down to 10%. I expect that to come back down as well as you spend out the rest of those funds. Debt service about 15%. Admin and district support, when you combine those together, you're at about 5%. Normally, I see that between 5 and 10%, so you're actually on the low end for that admin.
I've got
Oh, go ahead.
4 questions. I'll just kind of roll them all into one.
Yeah.
What is district support? What is pupil support? What is instructional support? And what is instructional? And how much overlap is there between these 4 categories as far as duplicity is concerned?
So instructional support is going to be your direct classroom, right? So the state breaks down codes based on these categories.
Okay.
Pupil support, that has, for example, food service is a part of that. And I can give you guys more breakdown of each of the categories. The other one that you said, instructional support, so that's support of the classroom, but it's not directly in the classroom.
What would be an example of that?
For example, like our curriculum department, right? They're not directly in the classroom, but they support our teachers.
So that's not district support then?
Right.
No. So district support then.
Okay.
District support then is the business services, HR, superintendent's office, school board.
Okay. What's pupil support?
Pupil support is, for example, the counseling, food service, where it's not.
How does food service get into this?
Good question. That's how they break out the category by MDE.
It's supporting kids.
Yeah, exactly. It's supporting kids. Yeah. Yep, transportation, thank you.
Yeah, transportation is a big piece of that.
In pupil support.
And I need to correct myself because I said superintendent is in district support, that's in admin.
And director of teaching and learning and all that is part of the instructional stuff, right?
Yep.
That's the small piece, instructional support. The big piece, instructional, is direct classroom. Wages and salaries of teachers and things like that are going to be in that one.
Yep.
It's just nice to know what, the state gets really creative in how they do certain things.
I can share you the UFARS manual if you'd like.
Only if I'm really, really, really bored.
Even then, not maybe.
May not recommend it. Perfect. So this slide here just takes all of those categories and puts them over the years for you, so you can see how they've changed year over year. Obviously, sites, building, and equipment, we expect that to keep coming down. And then as you look at it, right, the percentages aren't as skewed on this one. So instructional is going up. That's going to be, biggest piece of that is going to be your wages and salaries and benefits there. So the next page then is, okay, now we take those expenditures and we drop them into buckets of what is their object, right? So what does that make it up of? So you can see your salaries, obviously gonna be the biggest piece of this at 47%, employee benefits at 22%, your purchase services, anything you're contracting out is at 11%, and then your principal and interest is your bond payments at 15% there.
Purchase services is what again, Mary?
Any type of like contracted service. So think of
Gotcha.
snow plowing, repairs and maintenance, any type of contracted service.
Would like Northern Pines be?
Yep, that would be. So the state requires us to have 17-digit account code, and the account code tells the story. And this is one part of the story. So the first part's what fund, and then the site, and then the program, and then is it restricted by federal money, and then what are we buying? And that's this part.
Okay.
Is that something you got on a spreadsheet?
I wish I could fit them all on one spreadsheet.
Imagine that.
Okay, well, just a question.
Yeah, we have over, I think it's almost 27,000 account codes.
27,000?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
goodness. If you really want a good read, I mean.
No. No, accounting was not one of my strong suits.
That's crazy.
So then again, here, just the same expenditures by object, just giving you a chart, you know, where you've been and where you're at currently. Again, we talked about your salaries and benefits. They did increase from prior year there. If you read the financials, it came from your contract settlements there. A lot of that is your increase in salaries and benefits. So then we'll get into your average daily membership, obviously what drives the school's revenues here. Again, you can see the drop, about 5,800 students this year, down from your high from 2020 of about 6,500. So kindergarten and others, usually I have seen the majority of that category actually decrease. For this year, for a lot of districts, you increased a little bit, basically maintained from last year. Elementary and your secondary are your biggest drops here.
And the others includes early childhood, because I know you're probably thinking, but our kindergarten numbers are going down. They are, but we have early childhood in that line as well. And I know Director Adjournment is new. ADMs are how much we get paid, and it's based on how a kid is attending. So if I'm a kid and I'm here all year, it's 1 ADM. If I'm a high school kid, it's 1.2. And if I'm here half the year, it's 0.5 or 0.6 if I'm a high school kid. So they take how many days that they've attended and convert that to ADMs.
And then you get paid so much per student being in the district.
And those numbers get finalized when?
So we have to do several submissions, and they all talk to other districts. So if there's dates overlapping or data conflicting, all that has to be cleared up, errors, warnings. So we don't get data probably until September or October that's clean data.
From the following?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep. Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have to know all this, we're not gonna know it by.
It's called catch up.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's why in there, obviously, is estimates, right? So we're gonna book the best information that we can. So then we just like to look at your resident students versus your non-resident students. So basically open enrollment, right? The kids going out versus the kids coming in. So right now, dropping in both of those categories, residents and non-residents from prior year. And then here's your actual gain or loss from your open enrollment. So non-resident students coming in at 347. Resident students that you have here that are opting out, almost at 1,000 there. So you're actually gradually losing more and more students each year. Negative 652 this year.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Ward.
Mary, could you tell us that if these numbers, open enrollment and just a minute, I gotta go back to the other one, average daily membership details, residential student, resident students and non-resident students. Can you tell us, with the school districts that you work with, is this, how does that, how do these numbers compare with other districts that you work with? Is it an indicator of a lot of school districts, or is it, just, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's actually pretty common. We have seen quite a few districts losing and dropping in numbers. Yes, they are opting out either to charter schools, homeschools, kind of just those other areas online, right? So you're going online. If you're not online with the district, you're online with some other district, and so they get that count. So no, this is not uncommon. I have seen it in probably about 90% of the districts that I work with.
How about college and schools, or post-secondary does that play a factor into these statistics as well?
So our PSEO kids we claim them. So they're not showing up as, open enrolled out or anything like that.
Thank you.
Do we claim the college and the school students
Yes.
as well?
Yep.
Okay.
So then this is those two categories combined, administration and district support. So what we like to do is just provide some information. So the dark blue is going to be the district. The blue is going to be your state average. So the state puts this out every year, obviously a year behind because it takes a while to compile all the data. And then we chose to do the orange or the yellow here, districts with ADMs, so size over 4,000. So somewhat similar. Now, once you get over 4,000, it's pretty vague of where you're going to end up at. So we like to just do the comparison there. Again, you can see dark blue line pretty consistently under average of both of those. Increase in 23-24, just naturally going to happen with your decrease in ADMs there. So then the next page is your total instruction support per ADM. Again, almost each of these years is actually over those averages, so really dumping that money back into the classrooms. So the district is self-insured, so we like to just give a brief update of your self-insurance fund here. So all revenues and expenditures coming into this fund, and then your fund balance as well. So overall, your net position increased a little bit from last year. Again, kind of hard to estimate, what the expenditures are going to be. So you kind of have to base it off of prior year's experience. If you go to the next page, then we just like to show you kind of where you've lined up year over year with that net position with your revenues and expenditures here.
Do you guys track with the insurance? Do you track whether it's an employee or dependents as far as the money that we spend on insurance?
We don't track it in my world, but I'm sure that we could pull reports from Medica if that was data that you wanted.
I was just curious if you had the data. Because it seems like more I read on some of the insurance stuff, there more and more companies are paying less on employees than they are on dependents in some cases. I was just curious where we sat.
Yeah.
So.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Director Ward.
So, Mary, can you tell us if in the district we've gone to preventative kind of program rather than reactive kind of program, having our employees be able to call for help, call for insurance help or anything like that. And I know that Marcy is saving us. I know it's been impactful financially. Is there any way to show how impactful it's been financially?
So they actually provide a report. They do estimates based on so for example, if I go and use that service, and then at the end, if you fill out the survey that says, had I not used this service, I would have went to the ER or urgent care. And then they take that data and try to give us a number, and that typically comes is shared at the benefits committee. So we can get you that information, John.
Thank you.
So that was all I had to present. I didn't know any follow-up questions.
How are we sitting? If you were to give us a grade from A to D, F. I mean, from a financial standpoint,
You're on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Financially, I would say you're okay right now, right? But with Marcy's input, looking into 2020, 24, 25, you needed that to cover 24, 25, right? So it's really gonna depend upon how you come out this school year.
do you see any trends moving forward?
Moving forward,
We don't know what the state's gonna do, but I mean,
right, we don't.
do we see any trends in our data?
Correct.
Well, we've been seeing growth in the fund balance, but it's been because of CARES. I mean, CARES really has saved us.
Right.
So,
And so now it's the balance of, okay, CARES goes away and what expenditures are left that you haven't accounted for those revenues that were coming in. So if you use that CARES, which I think we had discussions, and try not to do fixed costs with those CARES money, right? Because they're gonna go away. Now you're not left with positions that you potentially have unfunded, right? So we're hoping, when it does go away, that you're still financially stable, but yeah, only time will tell right now.
We heard anything from the state, how much they're gonna kick in?
there's been so many things thrown out there. I mean, proposals
I
and,
think if we're lucky, we'll get 1 and 1, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I heard down at the convention. A lot of people are talking 2% maybe.
But a lot depends on what they might do with the unemployment side of things. That's a chunk of money. For us, it's about 400,000. They can make a big swing if they bail out.
What if they bail on free food?
Well, there you go. I mean, there's a lot of initiatives that were introduced the last couple of years. That was all because they had money. Well, they don't have money, so guess what?
Right.
and then the PDF of the financials is in your board packet, but they do give us a couple of paper copies. So if you guys would prefer paper, just let me know.
I'm a paper guy.
I'm a paper guy, go to.
Okay.
Is that the signed financial report that you're referring to? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the one that.
That's
will put you-
120 pages, so I feel like electronic. It's a good way to have it.
Yes, it's this big document here, so.
Yes. It's the one that will put you to sleep.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this presentation. It's comprehensive, but still simple for my simple brain.
That's why we like to put it in PowerPoint. It's a little bit easier to read and to get across where you've been.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to entertain a motion that we approve the 2023-2024 annual audit report as presented by Marcy and Mary.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, let's have a roll call vote.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
Randy Heineman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
Okay, now, next under new business, the approval of the third and final reading of MSBA Policy 906, Community Notification of Predatory Offenders. There been any change in that third?
Just one line about notification, otherwise it's the same.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If no further discussion, I'll take a roll call vote.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
Randy Heineman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Okay, now we move on to committee meeting updates. We'll start with the Policy and Community Relations Committee meeting that happened on January 22nd. Chair Etterman, do you have any updates on that?
No, there really wasn't any updates on that meeting. We pretty much just discussed a few policies, but They all remain the same for right now.
Great, thank you. Then Director Ward, under committee meeting updates, you wanted to report on the students that have applied to be student reps on our school board committees.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and you're going to chime in also, Madam Chair, so get ready. But I'd like to just say thank you to Principal Rusk and Superintendent Grant and to Reese Glenn, a student, and everybody that has helped put this together. When we got the applications, they were unbelievably, in my opinion, impressive with really, really quality, insightful, mature, energetic kind of response from our students. So I was really excited. I feel bad that I'm away and have dumped a lot of stuff back into Director Brecken's lap, and she's done an outstanding job of catching the ball and running with it. And so, Director Brecken, do you want to indicate what else has happened now with that? What's going on with that?
Sure. At this point, we have 6 really good applicants. And interestingly enough, they came up with a first and a second choice, and they're pretty evenly distributed. So we will have at least 1 student on each of those committees. They're long-range planning, 1 on finance and legislative, 1 on policy and community relations, 1 on curriculum and instruction staff development, and 1 on and we will have 2 on student support services. I'll be meeting with those students February 25th in the morning to just do a little bit of an interview and talk with them about sort of their responsibilities as representatives on these committees. And then they will be getting their assignments. Our first committee meetings that they'll be able to attend will be on February 26th. We have a curriculum committee meeting that day and a student support services meeting that day. Then our intent, once we get them sort of onboarded, is to introduce them at a school board meeting, and when we report on those committees, those students can be a part of making that report as well. So we'll probably be looking at moving up our committee reports earlier in the agenda, so those students don't have to sit until the very end of all of our very quick and efficient school board meetings. So that is my update. Anything else? Okay, let's move on to informational. First, we'll start with Brainerd Public Schools Foundation. Sarah, do you have anything to report on that?
I can just give a quick update to the group that the big event was this last weekend, which is the largest fundraiser of the year for that group. And just the generosity of this community is amazing, and of that committee to do all of this work for the kids, and the amount of money that pulls in for that organization and the support. So, and I'll be stepping away from that group, regrettably, and Stephanie Ederman will be stepping in as ex officio for our board group with that group.
Great, that's wonderful. It was a great event. I think a lot of administrative people won some pretty big prizes, but that's okay. Peter Bean won, Ryan Bean won. Yeah. So it was a great evening, a great way to celebrate Brainerd schools. Okay, so I'm next reporting on the Equity Task Force. Our last meeting was January 9th, and I gave an update on that meeting at our January 13th school board meeting. The next scheduled meeting is February 13th, 2025. But I do want to say that the Minnesota Department of Education mandates that we provide inclusive education, and the Equity Task Force's mission is to ensure that all students have access to inclusive, evidence-based, compassionate educational opportunities. Those important efforts make sure all students, regardless of race, ethnicity, religious practices, sexual orientation, social emotional status, or social economic status, feel safe, accepted, celebrated, and feel a sense of belonging. Okay, then I am going to next report on the Wellness Task Force. We had our second meeting on February 3rd. Lots happening with that particular task force. We're actively exploring piloting a program called Project 11 at Forest View this spring and or in the fall. Project 11 is a proactive program curriculum that supports students in developing skills and coping strategies that promote wellness, well-being, and brain health. Should we choose to participate, this program and the training and resources that would be offered to BPS would be at no cost because of our partnership with Smiles for Jake and the Max Marvin Foundation. The Marvin family created the Max Marvin Foundation after their family member Max, who was a hockey player from War Road, Minnesota, died by suicide at age 19 a few years ago due to his struggles with mental health. Their mission is to create funds to support charitable programs, projects, and activities that facilitate mental wellness. The Max Foundation partnered with Project 11, a program tied to the National Hockey League that promotes mental wellness in Canadian schools. Project 11 was inspired and created in honor of former NHL player Rick Rypien, who died by suicide at age 25 in 2011, shortly after joining the Winnipeg Jets as a free agent. The Max Marvin Foundation's intent is to bring Project 11 into Minnesota schools, so we're excited to explore that further. The other pretty exciting thing that'll be happening is there is a Hope Chat bot from Smiles for Jake in Brainerd. It's a digital tool designed to provide immediate, accessible mental health support for students and community members. Integrated into platforms for easy access, the bot offers resources, coping strategies, and positive affirmations to promote emotional well-being. It serves as a confidential space where users can explore mental health topics, find encouragement, and if needed, connect with human support services, reinforcing Smiles for Jake's mission to spread hope and reduce the stigma around mental health. HopeBot will soon be released to Brainerd Public Schools, who will add it to Clever. Thanks to Ryan for his coordinating all of this with us. So it will add it to Clever so all students will have access. For staff or community members who do not have access to Clever, we will also have a link on the district website. There are some additional student and family engagements planned for the spring, and I'll report on those at the next meeting. We're still in the process of solidifying our mission and vision, but as we establish our groundwork, additional members will be invited to participate in this important work. Our next meeting is at the end of March. So that is the update on the Wellness Task Force. Next is Business Services Report. Marcy, do you want to come up again?
So in your board packet is the financial report, and I have nothing new to note on that, but on the second page, I just want to note, so we did do the audit presentation, and when we present budgets, you guys are typically used to more of this format when it comes to fund balance. So I did just include that in there as well for your reference, if you were wondering what the fund balances look like in the format as the budget is presented. And then the final part of my report is the enrollment report. So since the beginning of the school year, we are down 73 K through 12. On average, we would be down about 67 compared to the data that we have that goes back to 18-19. So kind of tracking similar to previous year's average. Any questions? Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Director Ward.
so Mars, can you give us some indication of the where the 73 are aligned. Is it elementary? Is it middle schools, high school? You know, and I know this is repetitive, but I just want to give us and the public, you know, the results of where we are with that.
Yep, so must have had ESP from you, because I wrote down, we're down about 8 in elementary, 14 in middle school, and 51 at high school.
Thank you, Marcy, and I like your ESP. That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
Yep.
Okay, next we move into superintendent's report.
Last Thursday, I was invited over to the high school. They had Education Day. It's a program where members of the chamber come into the school. I think there are about 30 people there from all different employments of the community. And what I liked about it was, first of all, Andrea did a really nice job explaining about the high school, what the kids are doing and so forth, and then asked questions of members that came from the chamber. How many graduated from Brainerd High School, for example, and it was very few, actually. And then at the end of the program, excuse me, she took them on a tour. And that was, for a lot of them, that was the first time they've been in the building. So they got to see some really cool things about what's going on, how different the high school is compared to just 10 years ago, with the opportunities that kids have compared to before. So the idea of them getting some career pathways is much more accelerated today than it was 10 years ago. And I thought that was pretty neat to have that occur. So Andrew did a really nice job.
Okay, great.
Oh.
Anything else?
No.
Okay. Now we move on to future meetings. February 13th, Equity Task Force meets up at the Brainerd High School. February 18th, the District Advisory Council meets at Wesby. February 26th, Student Support Services and Committee meeting, now meeting at Brainerd High School because we are including students. And also that day from at 10 o'clock, there'll be the Curriculum Instruction Staff Development Committee meeting. And then on March 3rd, we have a regular school board meeting at 6 p.m. at Wesby. Okay, now moving to item 14. The next item on the agenda is a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, Subdivision 2B, for preliminary consideration of allegations against an employee. My understanding is that employee would like that to be an open meeting, so we will continue with that agenda item in an open meeting format.
Good evening. I have spoken with the employee, Mr. Tim Catlett, and he has requested this be an open session because it is a verbal communication between him and I. I do have a short statement just saying for him to sign that he is requesting that this be an open session as opposed to a closed session. It says that I've been advised that the district's administration arranged for the school boards to conduct a closed session for preliminary consideration of allegations against me at the board's February 10, 2025 meeting. I hereby confirm that I am knowingly and voluntarily exercising my right under Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, Subdivision 2B, to request that the board's discussion of allegation against me be open to the public. Thank you, Mr. Catlett. I'm going to speak to the investigation and recommendation regarding Tim Catlett. Tim Catlett is a full-time staff member of Brainerd Public Schools and serves as a performing arts facility manager at the Geechee Zibby Center for the Arts. He has been employed with Brainerd Public School since January 30th, 2021. Allegations. On December 20, 2024, John Davis, chief of the Brainerd Police Department, communicated allegations of misconduct against Tim Catlett to Peter Grant, superintendent of schools. The allegations are summarized as follows. On the evening of December 17, 2024, the Geechee ZB Center for the Arts, GZ, was hosting the Lori Line concert. Brainerd Police Department officers conducted a walkthrough of the GZ as part of their duties. Tim Catlett allegedly confronted a police officer in an aggressive manner and escorted the officer out of the building, following him to the exit. A police sergeant entered the premises to speak with Mr. Catlett and was similarly asked to leave. These are allegations from Police Chief John Davis. Investigation reviewers and recommendation and determination recommenders. On January 2025, Mr. Catlett was informed that Human Resources had received the investigation material, including his interview. The purpose of the call was to notify him that Kerry Ross, Executive Director of Schools, and Ali Xiong, Director of Human Resources, were assigned to review the investigation and make recommendation. Mr. Catlett objected to Kerry Ross' involvement, asserting that she could not be neutral, and requested her removal. In response, Kerry Ross was removed, and Marcy Lord, Director of Business Services, was added as an investigation reviewer and determination recommender. Analysis. The central issue under review is whether Mr. Catlett's action confronting and removing a police officer and subsequently a police sergeant from an event at Brainerd High School constitute a violation of Brainerd Public Schools policies, and whether his action aligned with the district's commitment to maintaining a positive partnership with the Brainerd Police Department. The investigation into this matter included review of 2 surveillance video capturing the incident, finding from an investigation conducted by 2 independent fact-finding investigators, a post-investigation interview with a police officer who was unavailable during the initial investigation due to vacation, a post-investigation interview with Mr. Catlett, providing him an opportunity to present additional information or clarification before a recommendation was made. Review of Brainerd Public Schools policies and procedures. Findings and determinations. Upon thorough review of the evidence, it is determined that Mr. Catlett did confront and on 2 separate occasions removed 2 staff of the Brainerd Police Department from the premises at Brainerd High School on December 17, 2024. It is also determined that Mr. Catlett's actions were not in compliance with Brainerd Public Schools policy. Brainerd Public School is committed to ensuring a safe learning and working environment for students, staff, and visitors. By confronting and expelling law enforcement officers from a school event, Mr. Catlett acted contrary to Brainerd Public Schools policy and procedure. Furthermore, Brainerd Public School has established a clear objective of fostering and maintaining a positive partnership with the Brainerd Police Department. Brainerd Public School highly values the collaborative relationship it maintains with law enforcement. Mr. Catlett's Catlett's conduct in this instance directly contradict that objective. Conclusion and recommendation. Based on the evidence review, Mr. Catlett's action constitute just cause for disciplinary action. His behavior on December 17, 2024 was inconsistent with the professional expectations set forth by Brainerd Public Schools. Accordingly, it is recommended to Superintendent Grant that the Board of Education proceed with the immediate termination of Mr. Catlett's employment with Brainerd Public School, effective immediately.
Okay, I would now entertain a motion to approve the district's decision to terminate the employment of the employee.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? We call for a roll call vote.
Stephanie Etterman,
Yes.
Randy Heidman,
Yes.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Meeting is adjourned.
Gotta do a roll.
Oh, roll call vote, sorry.
one more. Randy Heidman,
What are we voting on?
adjourned.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Spear,
Yes.
John Ward,
Yes.
Michelle Brecken,